name's Omar. I'm currently 24. I'm Latino. I'm currently studying cloud computing at a community college.
My name is Brianna. I'm 27 years old. I'm Latina, Mexican American. I was born here in the States though. I have a degree in biology, so I have a bachelor's of science from UTA.
My name is Rachel. I'm 27. I'm white, and I have an associate's in science.
Okay. Maisha. I am 33. I am African American. Personally gone from elementary to high school. I did some college.
My name is Chris Phillips. I am 35. I am Caucasian, white, non-Hispanic, and I have a bachelor's degree. I'm about to finish my master's thesis for my master's degree.
Now, just to ask you a general question in regards to the basis of this documentary, do you know what critical race theory is?
No.
I don't.
Man, sort of.
I do.
With basicdictionary.com, like this is just a general definition, doesn't go too much into detail, but it's basically stating that critical race theory is a framework that considers the impact of historical laws and social structures on the present day perpetuation of racial inequality. Now, moving on to kind of the main topic for the documentary, have you heard, as a person living in Texas, of the House Bill 3979?
No.
No.
I do not.
I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm going to assume that it's the bill where they don't want critical race theory taught in schools.
Is that the critical race theory bill?
It is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I am familiar with it.
So it aims to ban the teaching of critical race theory in kindergarten through 12th grade public school classrooms. That's what this bill is. Knowing that short summary of it, what are your thoughts on this bill?
The ban is to, this might ruffle a couple feathers, but it's to appease white tears. Because if you teach the framework of critical race theory and how that's impacting today, a lot of people think that these inequalities stopped in the 70s and 80s and things like that, or it was exclusive to slavery. But a lot of people don't understand how that impacts us as a society in general, and not just African American people, all people in general, and how some people get more favoritism than others.
It's fascinating, right? I think a few things about it. One, when you actually read the bill, it never says the words critical race theory in it, which is fascinating. It's aiming to curb that, but it never says specifically that you can't teach critical race theory. I think this is for a few reasons. One, I think people who wrote the bill don't know what critical race theory is. If they did, then it wouldn't be a concern, because critical race theory is not taught in public schools at any level in this state, in this country. Critical race theory is graduate level work.
Now, thinking about your own experience as a person of color going through kindergarten through 12th grade, with regard to racial diversity and inclusion, or the lack of, do you have any personal experiences that stick out, positive or negative? It doesn't have to be negative and it doesn't have to be positive.
I wouldn't say that I had like a bad experience either or, but I want to say that has to do a lot with me being white passing. I feel like if you were to look at me, a lot of people don't assume that immediately that I'm Latina. I used to have blonde hair too, so never got mistaken. I'm light skinned. My Spanish is trash. So I've never had like to do that, but I feel like that only happened because like I fit a certain demographic, right? My parents came to Plano specifically to put me in these fucking schools, specifically because they knew that these were like really good schools. So I feel like I'm like a product of like really, really, really good circumstances, and that's not the case for everybody.
As I reached the limit of my swing and prepared to rush back on the counter swing, a great gong struck and thunder. For an immeasurable...
Bobby, Jesus, front and center.
What'd I do? You spoke Spanish, you know the rules. Mr. Verdugo, you're first. ¿Duele? Como un beso tapado.
So thinking back again through K through 12 as a person of color, how vividly do you remember hearing historical events about your specific demographic?
I don't. Man, this sounds so trash, especially because it's Cinco de Mayo in like 2 days. I want to say the biggest thing I remember in school, like elementary school specifically, was like they would always have and I was never, because I was never in bilingual classes, but they would always have the bilingual classes like perform on Cinco de Mayo.
It was like a show, but we used to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I feel that's about it. Yeah. Aside from Cinco de Mayo, there was really no other, I guess. In school, we just talk about it, the history behind it, but that's about it.
Thinking of your experience in kindergarten through 12th grade, how vividly do you remember hearing any historical events about the diversity and the demographic?
The only thing that comes to my mind when talking about race specifically is the civil rights movement, because of course that's what it was all about.
Scratch a little deeper, Bobby. Who fought there?
Americans.
Americans. How about your ancestors?
Mexicanos.
Yeah, Yoli, help them out. Read the part on the Chicano regiments.
Chicanos?
Or Mexican Americans. It was before we moved to East LA and became vatos locos. Oh. Any luck, Yoli? Read a part about Mariano Vallejo and his meeting with Abraham Lincoln. That's it. Paula, help her out. Read the part of 9,000 Mexican Americans who fought in the American Civil War.
Mr. Castro doesn't say anything about Mexican Americans.
Now, speaking as a parent of a child to a person of color, what experiences have you seen your child face with regard to racial diversity and inclusion, or the lack of, positive or negative?
Okay, we'll take the instance of Christopher Columbus coming to discover America. Excited, comes home, and is learning these things, and he's excited about learning these things and how America was started. But how, as a parent, knowing all the negative that has gone into it, they're very. Christopher Columbus, let's just say he did discover America, but the atrocities that he brought along with him to the indigenous people, the Taino people of Puerto Rico, we don't learn that part of it. We just glorify the fairy tale of what America is, but we're not teaching our kids what that looked like.
The school that my daughter is at is amazing. It's encouraging to see and hear stories of some of those students stepping up in kindergarten and challenging some of the norms that we teach that are not overtly racist. There's just a different perspective depending on who you are in this country.
Yeah.
And for example, in kindergarten they learn about George Washington, right? And I was relayed a story in which a black student stood up and said, hey, like, this man made teeth for my people, right? And that's not something, especially in kindergarten, that you're ever gonna hit.
What have you faced as a teacher with your students in regard to seeing it implemented when it comes to racial inclusion and diversity in the classroom and curriculum?
More often than not, the students are awesome, right? The students want to understand, they want to go out of their way. That's the hard part with some of this critical race theory bill stuff is, like, yes, critical race theory is not taught in the classroom, but our students want to explore some of those ideas. You do have what I would interpret as a generational passed down hostility at times. I can look at my high school students and talk to them about the concepts of critical race theory. I don't, but I could. And more, I think most of them would tend to like understand and agree. But then you use the word critical race theory attached to it, then a certain population of students get kind of uncomfortable, squirmy, and I think that has to do with narratives that they've heard, things that they have been kind of told, conversations that are happening at home.
Do you have any final thoughts on the bill?
I just feel like ignoring critical race theory is like ignoring it. I feel like it tries to perpetuate this like universe where like race doesn't affect us in like our everyday life, which is such bullshit. Like there's stuff we go through stuff, and not necessarily me, I'm saying we because you know I'm a minority in this state, but like there's stuff that people go through every freaking day. Like, you know, if you were gonna compare the availability of jobs or job offers that I would get to a white man, never the same. It'll never be the same. And there's tons of studies on that. We could have the same freaking resumes, and because Chad's name is on here versus Brianna Andrea, like Chad's gonna get all the offers, or we're both gonna get an offer, but Chad's gonna make more money than me, or Chad's gonna make more money than Maria Jose, or Chad's gonna make more money, and so on and so on. It's just it's naive to act like it's not around or it's not present.
I feel like our representatives, our senators need to very look at themselves and find out why is this a trigger and why you wouldn't want this to be out there. I feel like the newer generations are a little bit more forgiving. It wasn't that long ago that probably a lot of these people's grandma and grandpa were watching lynchings, and that's just the general fact. Understand why race is such a big deal, and it's not just in America. It's a thing. It's all colonialism, and the more white you are, the more right you are, and we have to understand that specifically is an issue. And if we can get to understand, and as a people, and we start young and we understand and we teach our children that this is an issue, I feel like at one point we will be the melting pot that we proclaim to be, for sure.
In context of the bill and overall, what I would say is, if you are involved in education, if you care about education at all, right now is more important than ever to be in tune, be in touch, and know what's going on, because education is under attack. You know, I don't know that I would call it conspiracy theories, but there's ideas on what the end goal is for what's happening. For sure, the short-term goal is to maintain power, and this is what I'll close with. School board elections require very little votes to win. People are currently using them as a launching pad into a political career. They do not care about education. They do not know anything about what they're getting themselves into. They're there to get a different job. Probably one of the most important right now when we talk about these things. Again, state, they can decide whatever they want to, but it's starting at the school board. That's who is having the voice right now to say, we have a problem here, that then goes up the chain and starts to snowball into these issues that don't exist.
Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to do the interview.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your honesty, and thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, absolutely.